Presenter is Mike Golden, and he'll be presenting on the poverty effects on foster care in Pima County, Arizona. Mike?
Good evening. I'm Mike Golden. Tonight I'm going to be speaking with you about the effects of poverty on foster care in Pima County, Arizona. The purpose of this project was to ascertain the nature of the relationship between poverty, foster home locations, and child removals within Pima County. The study area for this project was Pima County, and all my maps are presented in the North American Datum 1983 UTM Zone 12. Pima County shares the same boundary as the Pima region designation within the Arizona Department of Children, Youth, and Families. And within that department there are 5 regions in the state. Why is this project important? As of March 31st of this year, the Pima region had the highest proportion of children living in shelters and non-therapeutic group homes. These are children that were removed from their homes through no fault of their own, and they would have been placed in, they could have been placed into family foster homes if there had been enough beds available. And why does the Pima region have the highest proportion in the state? The suspicion is that poverty plays a crucial role in foster home recruitment. According to the most recent American Community Survey data from 2012, Arizona had the 8th highest poverty rate in the nation for all people, and the 7th highest poverty rate in the nation for families with children under 18. And those were 18.7% and 27% respectively. Locally, poverty rates are even higher than they are at the state level. In Pima County, 1 in 5 people are living below the poverty threshold, and 1 in 3 families with children are living below the poverty threshold. Within the city of Tucson, 25% of people, over 25% of people are living below poverty, and almost 40% of children are living in families below the poverty line. And the metro area of the city of Tucson, out of all the cities in the nation with at least 500,000 people, happens to have the 7th highest rate of poverty. So this first map shows the distribution of poverty for all people within Pima County. And you can see that the western half of Pima County has high rates of poverty. And within the inset, which is the city of Tucson urban area, there's also high concentrations of poverty. And that inset accounts for right around 70% of Pima County's population. This next map shows the distribution for families with children under 18. And again, you see similar clustering in the western half of the county and the central part of the urban area. And this map shows poverty for households. And again, similar pattern of clustering in the center of the city of Tucson in the western half of the county. So this brings us back to the original question. Is there a relationship between poverty, foster homes, and children in out-of-home care in Pima County? In order to answer that question, I was able to receive data from the Department of Children, Youth, and Families, and I received foster home counts at the zip code tabulation area level as of March 31st, 2013, and child removal data at the zip code tabulation level as of March 31st, 2013. For social and economic data, I was able to download it from the U.S. Census Bureau's American Fact Finder website. And the most recent economic data available for geographies with fewer than 20,000 people was the 5-year American Community Survey from 2011. From the American Fact Finder, I downloaded the household poverty rate, families with children under 18, the poverty rate for those families, the percent of households receiving SNAP benefits, which would be assistance with food, the percentage of households spending more than 30% of income on household expenses. And these variables were selected because of associations with previous research with either foster homes or child removals. All of the data for this project is at the zip code tabulation area level. And the reason for this is twofold. Number one, this is the best way to protect the identities of foster homes and children active in the child welfare system. And number two, it minimizes the margin of error from the U.S. Census Bureau American Community Survey data, which can be very high at the census tract and census block group level. So for the foster home count data at the zip code tabulation area level, as of March 31st, on March 31st, 2013, there were 692 licensed foster homes. I used the number of households per zip code tabulation area to normalize the foster home count so that they would be comparable across areas with different populations. And I chose to use household counts because it's a more inclusive statistic than using the family counts. Family counts from the Census Bureau would not include foster homes. So I normalized that data and I removed all of the zip code tabulation areas with fewer than 1,000 households. And this is that resulting data called the foster home rate, and this is per zip code tabulation area. For the children in out-of-home care, as on March 31st, 2013, this represents children that are active in the system in Pima County, and this is the zip code tabulation areas that they were removed from, not necessarily where they were placed into. And again, there were 2,705 children active in the system at that time. So if you do the math, that's almost 4 children per licensed foster home. And again, I normalized this data using the household counts and removed any zip code tabulation area with fewer than 1,000 households. And the resulting variable was the child removal rate per zip code tabulation area. For my analysis, I chose to use an ordinary least squared regression. And the reason why I chose this is that it is an established technique within the social sciences for answering a research question and determining the nature of a relationship between variables. It has also been used in previous research regarding child welfare and poverty. I used IBM's SPSS statistics program, and I followed a process of variable analysis and selection. I ran the regression repetitively, and each time I ran the regression, I removed a variable which had I removed variables which were highly correlated with each other until I finally arrived at a model where none of the variables had a variance inflation factor higher than 5, which is to say that none of the variables were telling the same story as each other. And these were the final models I arrived at. For the first model, the foster home rate model, the variables that were included as explanatory variables were the percent of households below the poverty line, the percent of households spending more than 30% of income on household expenses, and the child removal rate. And for the child removal rate regression, it was the same set of variables except the foster home rate was used instead of the child removal rate. So for the results of the first ordinary least squared model for the foster home rate dependent variable, there was a statistically significant negative correlation between poverty and foster home rates. So that is to say that as household poverty rates increase, this is associated with a lower foster home rate. And this shows the results of that regression. And so this is the map showing poverty overlaid on top of the foster home rates. And within that model, it was interesting to see a positive relationship between foster home rate and the child removal rate. One of the Department of Children, Youth, and Families' main goals is to reunite children with their families. And geographic distance is one of many factors that can influence this outcome. So this positive relationship between foster home rates and child removal rates would suggest that they are actively recruiting foster homes and placing children within the same zip code tabulation areas that they were removed from. The second ordinary least squared analysis used the child removal rates as a dependent variable, and the results of this model were statistically significant. There was a statistically significant positive correlation between household poverty rates and the child removal rate. So to be clear, poverty alone is not a reason for removing a child from the home. Poverty may contribute, as has been suggested by other research, to higher incidences of child neglect, which in return may result in a child not being able to safely remain in their home. So all other factors held constant, as the percent of households in poverty increases, the likelihood of neglect, which would lead to a higher child removal rate, also increases. And again, there was a positive correlation between the foster home rate and the child removal rate. So within Pima County and the city of Tucson, there's a higher household poverty rate than the state as a whole. On top of this, the Pima region has the highest percentage of children being placed into group homes and shelters in the state. And that's because there's not enough beds available for them within family foster homes. There is a statistically significant correlation between poverty, foster homes, and child removals at the zip code tabulation area level. High poverty is correlated with a higher number of children entering into the child welfare system, as well as negatively correlated with the recruitment rate of foster homes. With data to back up what they have routinely seen firsthand in the field, I hope that DCYF will better be able to develop policies that focus on preventing child abuse and neglect, and that they can continue to actively recruit foster homes in low-income areas. Thank you for your time, and as you've seen, there is a huge problem with not having enough foster homes in Pima County. And if anybody is interested, these are the local agencies and organizations to contact if you would consider becoming a foster parent. Any questions?
Any questions?